So, today I wanted to talk about Ariana Grande's sixth studio album, Positions, that just dropped last night. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. This album was extremely underwhelming, lyrically lacking, no substance, extremely redundant, very repetitive, and just an overall shallow theme. This album honestly sounded like a bunch of Sweetener rejects, and the songs sound too similar, and rarely do any of these tracks ever stand out. Like, as I was listening to this album, I rarely was like, which song is this? Like, it's good that an album is consistent, but Positions is so consistent to the point where nothing really stands out. No songs really have a moment. Well, no, there are to this album. There are songs that do stand out, but half of this album, these songs were really just there. They were kind of just get there, very skippable. Like, there was just nothing that just really stood out with some of these songs. Now, I do understand the overall sound of this album could be very lighthearted and very fun. Like, I think that's just what she was going for. Like, it's very playful, very flirty kind of, like, vibes that you get from this album, which is a step in a very different direction from, like, her last studio albums. I think the perfect comparison to make from this album is Changes by Justin Bieber. That's exactly what this album reminds me of. Like, that very, very consistent sound to the point where nothing really stands out. And then, like Justin Bieber in like that period, he's very, very happy, like he married this girl and, he's just happy and that's kind of it. There's nothing wrong with being happy. I think that's what a lot of people are saying on Twitter, like she's happy, blah, blah, blah. Being happy is not an excuse to make bad albums. It's not. Future Nostalgia, happy, good album. I don't understand why people keep saying that. That's so annoying. People are saying about Justin Bieber, like, he's happy, and like same for Ari. She's happy. She's in a good spirit. She was so sad. Like, that's not an excuse to put out this. That's just so it just lacks everything. It's just, well, like I said at first, just underwhelming across the board. But, I don't want to sit here and just talk bad about the album for, like, 8 or 10 straight minutes. There are good moments for this album. Like, some of my favorites is Just Like Magic, Off the Table, Safety Net, Positions, Point of View, and My Hair. That's 6 songs. Like, that's, like, damn near half the album. Like, there's some definitely good moments in here. But I don't see myself going back to, I would play Dangerous Woman, the album. I would play Thank You Next, the entire album. I don't see myself listening to the entire Positions album. There are definitely some stuff to pick from here. This album was giving me, like, EP vibes. I feel like this album could have been chopped down. Like, half of this album could have been chopped down. I can immediately take 7 songs, like, right now off of this list. Like, let's go through it. That should have been erased. 34 plus 35. It's a cute title, but that could have been taken off. Motive, goodbye. 630 could have been taken off. Nasty could have been taken off. West Side taken off. Love Language, please get it out of my face. Obviously needs to get off this album. Like, it's very easy to take off. Like, right then and there. There are just some songs that just did not need to be here. It was just, not because it was bad. Like, I think that, with some more extra time, it could have been better. But it's not giving anything that's new. Like, there's just a lot of the same subject matter that's being talked about in this album. And, like, everyone was talking about, like, oh my God, like, she's talking about sex. Oh my gosh, she's grown now. Like, there's no correlation between there. Just because it's sex does not make it grown. If anything, this sounded like a 9-year-old watched 50 Shades of Grey and was like, oh my God, like, sex. And let me sing about it. Like, no, I just didn't feel grown at all. I don't understand what that argument was about. You'd be like, oh my God, Ariana Grande is growing up. Yeah, she's talking about sex. And I'm like, no, this didn't give me... Dangerous Women was definitely like a more grown, mature album. I don't think doing the do makes you... I didn't understand that at all. This album also just did not feel finished at all. There was 14 songs in 41 minutes. That's a little weird to me. That's a lot of songs for it to be so short. No, this album kind of feels rushed as well. The songs are just lacking content. It's just very, like, 1, 2, 3, ABC. There's no depth to anything. Like, this album is a little kiddie pool. That was just kind of frustrating to me as well. Especially after an album like Thank You Next that just did that so well. Like, you had songs like Ghostin', In My Head, Fake Smiles, Needy, Imagine. You have all these songs that were just so intimate, and they were just, they were describing their subject matter in very great detail. That's what resonated so well for me with those albums. Like, not only are you like listening to music, but you're getting to know someone's like character. And that's what was so intriguing versus this album was just so boring. Like, it was just jingles almost. Like, there was just nothing going on in these albums. It just felt very quick and very rushed, very just, yay, like, positions. I was so relieved, like, when I heard the song Positions come on, because I'm like, yes, like, something that's just different. Because this whole entire album sounded like one long song. Nothing really stood out. No versatility whatsoever. But speaking of, like, versatility, let's get into the features. So, I wanted to talk about Doja Cat's features. I just want to talk about Doja Cat in general very quickly, because Doja Cat is just one of those artists that, like, you hear, like, her songs for, like, the first time, and it's weird and awkward, but then over time, once you hear it, it's like, okay, this is like, really, really cute and really, like, fire. Okay, I can get behind this. But, I don't know, the way Doja Cat kind of raps and, like, she gets on other people's songs, other people like it. I don't like it. It was just very awkward. She just sounded like she just did not belong on this. It sounded like one of those like rappers like coming up and like they like hop on like popular like tracks, to like get some traction. That's what this sounded like. She did not fit the song at all. Just very awkward listening to her. Reminded me of the Do It remix. She sounded very awkward on there, with the exception of like those harmonies. The harmonies and like her singing was very, very good. I don't know why she didn't sing more on this. Yes, she's a rapper, but I feel like a song like this, she could have sung and it would have sounded better. I just didn't like this collaboration at all. But moving on. Let's talk about Off the Table with The Weeknd. The Weeknd definitely added something to Off the Table. It was a very cute song. It was very underwhelming because, well, it's The Weeknd and Ariana Grande. Like, when I saw that, that's immediately, like, the song I was definitely looking forward to the most. And being with This Is What I Got, like, comparing this to Love You Harder, I don't want to compare it. Like, even, like, going to this album, I didn't want to compare this to, like, the rest of her discography, but I just couldn't help it because I'm just, like, this was so boring. Like, this was just, like, that's it? Like, that's literally what I felt with this album. Like, damn, that's it? Like, this is what I did for it? Like, yeah, but, Off the Table, it was cute, I guess. It's just crazy. You just can't get best of both worlds on this album. It was either musically it was strong, like it sounded very, very good, aesthetically pleasing to the ear, but then song-wise, like lyric-wise, it'd be very bland, very boring, cough, cough, my hair. But then you'd have songs where, like, lyrically or, like, content-wise, it would be very strong, and, like, it would kind of, like, bring you in a little bit, but then musically, it'd be very dry. Cough, cough, Off the Table. Like, I don't know, it was just very boring. But my favorite feature off this album, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was a Ty Dolla $ign feature. When I first saw his name, I was actually very, like, disappointed and upset, because I'm like, Ty Dolla $ign, like, he's a good artist. He just doesn't really stand out to me. Like, it's not like, oh my god, I like that. Did you, like, hear, like, that Ty song or, like, that Ty feature? Like, it just didn't. But he did a really, really good job on Safety Net. I really enjoyed Safety Net. Like, his vocals came through. His verse wasn't bad. Like, he really brought something to this song. And I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed that song. So, like, that's definitely, like, one of, like, my favorite songs off this album simply because of Ty Dolla $ign. Like, that's the first feature I've heard in, like, quite some time where it was, like, he really, like, made that song. He really added something to that song. I really enjoyed that. So that was really, really good. So, in an album, like, you know what album is bad if, like, the Ty Dolla $ign feature was like, wow. Talking about a good Ty Dolla $ign feature, like, this album is just overall very boring. This was just not it. But let me not do. The album isn't bad. Yes, it is. Yeah, yes, it is. But there are some good songs. There are some good moments. There are some really, really good moments on here. And I don't like how people get taken away by Ariana Grande's good vocals. Ariana Grande's vocals are always good. They're always, top of the line, just amazing. Like, I think there's one song, yes, My Hair. My Hair vocals, amazing. Sound amazing. But what is she talking about? She's talking about someone taking their fingers, like, going through her hair. Like, what? Come on now. Vocals are everything. That's one of my favorite songs on the album, but, like, come on now. Like, that. not all the songs on the album sound that good. So when you take away like those amazing vocals, and you give like those average like Ari vocals, and you like just keep hearing those, it's like, like what are you talking about at that point? If that makes any sense. It's just very bland and very boring. That's just what the lyrical content of this album is, and just very just overall just disappointing. But without further ado, my rating, I'm gonna give Positions, the album, a 6 out of 10. I'm just not a fan of the overall sound and theme of this album. It's okay for what it is. There are definitely some bops, but as a body of work, there's just so many skips. It's very, very redundant. Like, I keep saying the same things over and over again. It's just boring. It's just very, very boring. A big letdown. I just wasn't just pleased by it at all. But I think I covered everything. That's when I have to do it for my album review. If you like it, please subscribe. Like for more of this content. Tell me what you thought about this album, child. I'm going to be definitely in the comments just looking at what everyone's saying about this, because what was your favorite song, least favorite song, etc., etc. Let's get the conversation started. And yeah, that was my album review.
Yes, I did that. And you would do it too for a check. I was an employee, and I was going to get employee of the month, and that's on period.